Hello and welcome to the Gone Traveling Podcast. We are looking at the BKT EuroCup, the 25-26 season. This is episode 16, and we are looking at round 13. Myself being David Hein, Hein News taking the charge, and Marco Munno, communication specialist, collaborator with La Journal Tipo. Marco, all good. How you doing?
Well, we are starting the new year, new ideas, uh, new intentions. So let's go. And same season, same basketball season. So we will see how it will end.
Yeah, we have our first team qualified for the playoffs. Borg is 11-2 in Group B, and have that little Q in the on the standings page. And you know, we don't have any eliminated teams, but pretty sure Hamburg is eliminated, still winless. Um, and yeah, 6 games behind, 7 games, sorry, behind Manresa. So it was nice having you, Hamburg. But hey, we have a win. We have a victory by Panionios. Some massive changes just before the new year have resulted in their first win since October 1st. They clouded up the playoffs there in Group B by beating Buducnost. We'll get to that in a second. Actually, though, the playoff picture is kind of getting a little bit clearer. We still have the 5 teams in Group A that are either at 7 and 6 or 6 and 7, and that's from fourth to eighth place. But Slask is already 2 games behind those 6 and 7 teams. And then over in Group B, you have Chemnitz and Trento, who are both 6 and 7 in fifth and sixth place in the playoffs. And now 2 games behind are London and Ulm, so at 5 and 8. So we're getting close to actually the playoff picture clearing up a little bit. I mean, Group A is still a little bit chaotic, but we'll see. You want to start us off, and we're going to have you pick up the game between Slask, the aforementioned Slask, downfall, five losses in a row. They lost 115-72 at home, where they had usually been pretty strong. But they ran into a Jerusalem team that is cruising at 11-2. So go ahead, take away.
Yes, we were talking about a team that is struggling to win again, and it's the case of Slask. I mean, we were thinking that they can find their way to at least fight for a playoff spot, but it seems like their find is kind of over. They are winless from December. They won the last game in November, and they met Jerusalem, who is kind of on a roll, who has the same record as the only qualified team. And the result was that Slask loses again. Jerusalem won again, but Jerusalem not only won, but really made more than a statement. They won by 43 points. So there is a lot. They
Comfortable
were,
victory.
yeah, they were away, so they really were focused on on the result, and they also put off some club records because they finished their first half with 64 points, and it's not the only remarkable first half of this round, but that's a pretty huge one. Yeah, and also they scored at the end 115 points. That is their new club record, and that was at 112. So I think Jerusalem now is clearly not only the front runner in the Group A, but also one of the true favorites for the win. And I think you can just see that to have a complete picture, we talked some episodes ago about Willie, and he had like 18 points and 12 boards in 15 minutes. So it's kind of a huge sideline, a sideline that can give you like first pages or at least a bit of a buzz if it would be done in a complete game, but just in 15 minutes it's really a lot. And I think the team built around Jared Harper is really on a roll, and it seems like he's unstoppable as for now.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a team that we mentioned it in passing that Isaiah Mobley, joined, former NBA guy, 11 points, 4 rebounds, two assists in just 19 minutes. That was basically his first game. He had a couple minutes in last week's game. So it's really the rich getting richer. And you look at this team and it's absolutely stacked, and you really wonder how many teams can beat this team. And you can't, you're not going to have a lot that can, because they have so many weapons. You had 2, 4, 6 guys who scored in double figures, and they shot 55% from 3 point range. If you shoot 55% from three point range, you're going to be in trouble. The other side, only 9 turnovers. They don't turn the ball over, and that was with Jared Harper only shooting 4 free throws. That's unheard of for Mr. Harper. Just 4 free throws. Taking a look, that's his season low. That's his season low. He shot 5 of 5 against Manresa back in round 3. All right, I'm gonna move over to the shocker. Uh, you know, Hyperbole, blah blah blah, but state of the teams, shocker of the season. I think we could go there. No, I mean, Panionios, absolutely shocking. Buducnost had beaten Turk Telekom, who was a very strong road team by 10 points last week. And they didn't just beat them; they beat them down. 97 to 85. This was a team that Buducnost team that had been pretty strong defensively, and couldn't really stop them. Good. It was a little bit of an unknown. Do you know off the top of your head how many coaches? So Nenad Markovic took over after what's his name? Let's see if I can find it. Zuros, after Zuros had resigned, and then do you know how many coaches? He's the ex coach of the season. Do you know how many coaches they've had this year? I'll give you a hint. It's more than 4 and less than 6. This is their
Yeah, so five.
fifth coach of the year, Nenad Markovic. This is actually the third time he's been with the team. He took over on the 30th. A day later, they brought in Joe Thomason, obviously former EuroLeague guy for a brief time there. And Panionios, they would just shot the lights out, 62%, 52%, and didn't really let Buducnost get into the game. And Panionios had been 1-22 in their last 23 games. So absolutely shocker. Thomason was fantastic with a index rating of 29. Had 16, 4, and 6. Samporos with 18 points, 4 3-pointers. They are not eliminated yet, but in all intents and purposes, they are. They're 5 games back of Trento and Chemnitz. But I think it's just good for them to, this is a program that was back in the second division a couple of 2 years ago. And, now they, have a victory, and, maybe they can play spoiler now. This is a team I don't know if I really want to play now. Some of the additions that they've made are maybe starting to hit a little bit. So Panionios, congratulations to them. Okay, so Buducnost, we were talking about Aris. Last point on Buducnost. We were talking about Aris, and they keep winning and then losing, winning and losing, alternating, and they've done that now for the last 6 games. So every time you want to think about maybe getting on the Buducnost bandwagon, they say, "Hey guys, no, don't do that to yourselves." So Buducnost, they're going to have to rebound from this one. A team that's hot right now is Manresa. You want to talk about Retin Obasohan, 113.99 victory over Aris. 7-6 is Manresa, and 6-7 is Aris. Manresa have swept the season series against Aris. Manresa is sitting at 6-7 in the playoffs right now. A 35-18 first quarter was basically the foundation. 7 players in double figures. Obasohan was the man you want to talk about. So go for the Manresa scorer.
Yeah, when we were talking about other teams that were really exploding on the first half of this round, I was talking about Manresa. Manresa scored 63 points at the half, so they were really on their way to win from the beginning, and Aris wasn't able to reach them. And we were talking about Manresa on the previous episodes, and the things that um, they can really count on many players. A lot of times young players, but this time the best one was Obasohan, who's really giving his experience on the on the team from the beginning of the season. This time he proves to be the best scorer of the team. He is going. He's barely scoring in double digit for taking all the season, but he had some good games, and it's the fifth time that he went to double digit, and anytime he was really huge on that side. He scored 20 against Eris in the first game of the series, and then he scored again like 18. So it seems like he's the nightmare, because he's going to 19 in average 19 in 2 games against Eris. And I think Mareza, after not really a slow start, but not best start, is kind of rolling. Now they won the 4 out of the last 5 games. They lost only against Jerusalem, but losing against Jerusalem, you can do it. There is no kind of shame in that, and they really building their momentum on the second part of the season. They change a lot of players. They lost people. They bring in people, but some players like Obasohan can give you the stability. Now is really important to balance and to have something to count on, and you can count on him. It's so funny that he has also a LinkedIn page, and he said that he's not only a basketball player but also a businessman, and he prefers visions against sight. So that's kind of his motto, and I think uh, he can now bring some, not just sight, not really sight on the teams, but just a vision. And when you can count on players like that, you can have like experience, you can have like stability, someone to count on anytime.
Yep. So Obasohan, big game, and when he's able to produce, they have you mentioned 4 or 5, and that's all you need to you get hot for a couple of few weeks, you can be in a good spot for the playoffs. I'm going to move over to Besiktas and Vitto Brown. Big game in Besiktas's 21-point victory at home over over Ulm. Besiktas, kind of in question a little bit there. They lost two, poor games, giving up 97 and 98 points, and but showed that they are an absolute power at home. 7-0 at home, 9-4, 9-4 overall, 28 assists. Five players in double figures. Ulm dropped to 5-8. They've lost six out of the last seven. That it was basically decided, midway through the third quarter. And Besiktas is just too strong. Vitto Brown, all game was strong there. 23 points, had three or four 3-pointers. This is a guy that, really, makes his money, if you will, on 3-pointers. And you look at the last three games, he's let's see if I can do it. 11 of 18, so sorry, no, sorry, 3-pointers. Well, he was 4 of 8 last week and 3 of 4, so that's 7 of 12. Shooting 45.7, 46% from 3-point range. That's a lot better than it was early in the season. I did an article on him, and that's where he knew that he needed to pick up his 3-point shooting, and it's definitely picked up in the last 4 games. So Vitto Brown, fun fact about him is he actually is a singer, just like Denzel Valentine over at Reyer, and actually with a family, and he actually sang at the NCAA Final Four when Wisconsin was in the Final Four. That was Wisconsin with Sam Decker, Frank Kaminsky, Nigel Hayes. When it was before it was Nigel Hayes Davis, and he actually sang the national anthem with three other athletes from those other three schools in the Final Four. So Vitto Brown, congrats to Besiktas on bouncing back, getting back into the win column. We talked about a pretty exciting game over in Ljubljana between Cedevita and Bahcesehir. We wanted to focus on that one, and you're going to talk about Tyler Cavanaugh, 12 points, 10 rebounds in a big game. Bahcesehir came back from 11 points down, and only gave up 10 points in the third quarter. And so what do you got on Tyler Cavanaugh?
Yeah, we talked the last episode about this game and how much it was anticipated to uh, grab the second spot on the Group A, and the game did disappoint, even if it wasn't as often happens in these cases. It wasn't a huge scoring game. It was a low scoring game, really low scoring game. So when you think about games like those, really any little stretch, any little break really is a lot. Any single bucket can really means more because there are less buckets. So that's what happened with Cavanaugh. He was the only player with a double double in all the game between points and rebound. So in a game in which you would expect from Bahcesehir people like uh, Malachi Flynn or Trevion Williams that were really the best player on the team about talent, Cavanaugh was really instrumental for the win. Not only for the numbers, we talked about people that can be reliable in a team, and it's his case when he anytime he's going to another new team, he's not really the best player about talent, but he's always important. He's always instrumental. He can always provide something to win, and this time he was really important. In two times he was really into the game to um, give moral to Bahcesehir into the third quarter that you mentioned before. For instance, he scored like 5 points in a row, and they were really important to not to permit to Cedevita to go away. They were like in the second half of the third quarter, and he Cedevita was up six, and he scored like an important triple and another two-pointer, and so from 41 to 35, the score went to 43 to 40, but then Ford, who's the newcomer for Bahcesehir, adds other points, and also so the game was kind of close. And also in the fourth quarter, when the game was actually uh, really close, they were tied at 58 when they were just uh, there were just 3 minutes and a half missing, and they were tied at 57, and the one that scored was Cavanaugh, and from there on Cedevita didn't score at all, so he was the guy that gave the ultimate lead to Bahcesehir to grab another important victory. And when you were waiting for the big guys to step up, instead he was an instrumental player like Cavanaugh, who was really giving an important win, a huge win to Bahcesehir to bounce back and um, to grab the second spot, the second place on the Group A.
I want to defend Trevion Williams. He still had 9 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and a block. He was fantastic. The offense doesn't really go through him at all. He's really doesn't really do much offensively. I wanted to mention that. I also really have to mention Ismet Akpinar for massive 3 pointers, and they only made 9, and he made 4 of them, and those were big. And what I think you have to be happy, the most happy about if you're Bahcesehir, is that you basically got nothing out of Malachi Flynn. 4 points, 1 of 10 shooting. That was the first time he's not scored in double figures this season in the EuroCup. And to do that without him really producing anything offensively, also had 6 turnovers. I mean, absolute nightmare game for Malachi Flynn, and for them to do it was really impressive. Cedevita, you didn't have Gerard. Yaramas isn't back. Shukos they left. They let him go to Pauk when they signed Matt Hurt from Trapani, who's not unavailable. So they were undermanned. But you basically only had Amuja Gibson and Andre Nikolic, who combined for 41 points and 23 of 24 free throws. Nobody else had more than 6 points on the team. So you're not going to win games when you have two guys score more than 26 points, unless they're scoring 40 and 33. Then you might have a better chance. I'm going to move over to Reyer and Reyer's home victory over Cluj. Big victory for the Italians to move to. Both teams are at 7-6. Reyer 5-1 at home, have the tiebreak head over Cluj after it was a 1-point victory for Cluj at home. Reyer's won 3 in a row. Cluj came into the game having won 6 straight, EuroCup and ABA League. This was the number one offense in the league, and Cluj only had 52 points after three quarters. 72 points was the fewest points they scored this season. They ended up scoring 90 to 83. It was a 15-point lead with just over 3 minutes left. They got it down to 7 points. And when Alessandro Lever hit a big 3-pointer, sort of the dagger with 76 seconds left. Reyer again without Jordan Parks and Kai Bowman and Stefan Nikolic, another big game. He had 14 points last week to set a career high, or maybe even tie a career high. I can't remember exactly. And then drops 23 on this in this game. And really was hot the whole game. Here we go. 10 of 12 shooting for the game, plus 2 of 3 free throws in fewer than 20 minutes. Also hit a couple of also hit free throws down the stretch as well. It's cool to see him make strides. They need somebody else. And he's 28. He's Serbian, but he's basically been in Italy since he was 16. Was with Virtus and Stella. Is considered an Italian on the score sheet. He was with Cantu for 3 years in the A2. Also helped them to be promoted. Was at Cremona last season, and now is with Reyer. And he's playing with his former buddy Tessitore, who played with him back at Virtus. He was at Virtus before he went down to Cantu. So Stefan Nikolic, it's a guy 2 weeks ago. Probably most maybe even most Reyer fans didn't know too well. But definitely most international fans didn't know too well. So then he puts down 14 points and now 23 points when Reyer really needs some scoring with Parks and Bowman out. Anything on him? Anything on Reyer? Anything on Cluj?
Yeah, I think is that Venice a lot of times seems to lack something to grab the results through the whole season, and now they scored a really important point against Cluj, looking at the standings as for now. And about Nikolic, he was really a summer addition, and it seems like between the guys that can have their ups and their downs. For instance, Wilshire, who's really getting on a roll sometimes, and sometimes he lacks, and he's the guy in the starting that is playing in the starting five, and Nikolic is his backup. Instead, Nikolic has always his contribution, and so he had something this time, and uh, basically you can always count on people on the bench like him and on him. So that's really another demonstration that when really Raya can just have a look on the standing and said like, okay, we lost some important game before some, and now we have to win to make the playoffs.
Yeah, three in a row, and it's a team that, as we mentioned, 5-1 at home. If they can grab some road victories, um, could be a problem. Anything else you want to talk about in round 13, or do you want to just move on to round 14?
Well, I think it's the time to move to the other round.
I will mention. Well,
And
actually, with one more thing, I think we should mention Chemnitz beating London. In,
okay,
in in London, that was a big game for Chemnitz to clear themselves two games of both London and Ulm, and a big victory on the road, and so uh, the Chemnitz actually lost to Panionios back in round one, way back in 1st October. And look, you take away that, or you give them that victory, and they're 8-5. So and then they're right there with Buducnost and Turk Telecom. But that's it. They're still right there. All right, let's move to round four.
also because it came on the overtime, so hero shot, so it was really a close situation. Paninius won with the Jalenens triple in the overtime, so it was really a close game if it came
Good,
to
good on
overtime.
you on remembering that. I couldn't remember that. All right, round 14. We were talking about how exciting round 13 is. Not as exciting. We have the big bad monster game. What are you looking for? I'll let you take that one.
Well, I think Bahcesehir against Manresa
No,
is
no, no,
one
no,
of the
no, no,
games to
no. Then I'll
watch.
no. We got Borg and Besiktas 1 and 2, baby. Group B.
Yeah, I think is that when you're qualified, when you're qualified, it's like
No, hey,
okay,
look,
we're
Besiktas need that victory to definitely stay ahead of Turk Telecom and Buducnost, and then, but at the same time, you also have Borg, who got blown out by 30 points at home. Sorry, no. In Istanbul. So back in round 5, 30-point loss in Istanbul. So Borg is going to want some revenge. So it's a super important game for Besiktas, who just only have a 1-game lead on Turk Telekom and Buducnost. So, but okay, but go ahead. You take the other game then.
Yeah, the other one was really important into the group A because Bahcesehir, we said that they're starting to maybe build up something from the Cedevita, the game against Cedevita, and they meet Manresa, who's kind of on a roll as for now, and into this second part of the first in the group phase. So I think both of the teams need to make a bit of a statement, and it's the perfect occasion for both to do something. To Bajasir to say that they're still really on the uh, favorite page, and to Maresa to say that hey, look at us, we're not just the underdogs.
Yeah, I mean, Başakşehir's kind of maybe found their way out of their little rut that they were in. So important for them to confirm that. Two other games, the German Derby, Ulm hosting Chemnitz. Ulm kind of need that victory because there are 2 games behind Chemnitz. The two teams have played already twice this year. Ulm won back in late September in the league, and Chemnitz won by 11 points back in round 5 in Chemnitz. The other game, Turk Telekom 8-5, hosting London 5-8. London, just like Ulm, being 2 games behind 2 teams, you're starting to get into maybe not must win, but should win. All right. I guess anything else? We've covered enough, don't you think? Anything else you got?
No, just let's hope the race of the on the playoff spot in the Group A will continue as for as for is going now, because in Group B it seems like we nearly have the teams of the playoffs. Instead, in Group A there are really more and more outcomes possible. So we're looking to that.
Yeah, I mean, if who's Slask playing? Slask is playing. Yeah, Slask, if they can go to Venice and knock off Reyer, then they're only then they're a lot closer to the playoffs. All right, Marco, let everybody know where they can find you.
Well, you can find me basically on any social media as Marco A Munno, Munno, but mostly on X.
And I am available on Twitter at Hein News. That is Heinnews. Hein News, Heinnews. Marco, thanks a lot for the time. Enjoyed the podcast as always. Um, we will talk to you next week, and we're getting down to the nitty gritty where the playoffs are going to be decided. So enjoy this week of shows, this week of games, and we'll talk to you next week.